Welcome everyone, ladies, gentlemen, to the Token Tank. On every episode of the Token Tank, we invite a promising blockchain and cryptocurrency project onto our show to pitch their project to our panel of judges. Our judges are focused solely on asking great questions to project founders so that you, the viewers, will be able to make your own judgment calls. A quick note as well, this sale does unfortunately exclude citizens of the United States and Canada. On our panel today, we have K-Dub, the chief brain eater over at Crypto Zombie. We have Nathan, spaceship pilot extraordinaire from the Cryptonauts. We have Brad, the blockchain in Brad. And of course me, your host, the Crypto Lark, tweeting about cryptocurrencies all day long. And we are very honored to have with us today the team from Ankr. We have Ryan, Stanley, and Song with us. Gentlemen, welcome.
Hey.
Hello.
Now, let's go ahead and jump straight into it. What is Ankr? Can you give us the elevator pitch?
Yeah, Ankr is a distributed cloud computing platform built on trusted hardware. That's the one-liner.
Nice.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, guys, if you don't mind, I'd like to kind of just take this in a certain direction right off the bat. So I had a little bit of a concern because I was doing some research. So the whole idea, really, what you guys are trying to pitch is the whole trusted hardware thing, right? So right. I was looking into the Intel SGXs, right? And I saw a few articles that earlier this year, some researchers had concern that Spectre design flaws in modern CPUs can be exploited to punch holes through the walls of Intel's XGX secure environments. I'm not sure if you've heard about this. So they said that the Enclave code being used by the Intel SGX SDK, the Rust SGX, the Graphene SGX, or similar runtime libraries are vulnerable. And these development kits include code patterns that can be exploited via SGX Spectre to work out what lies within the Enclave's secret memory. So I don't know if you guys heard about this. Have they addressed this? Has anything been done to make sure that this security vulnerability still doesn't exist?
Starting strong, Caleb.
Okay, so I will answer briefly. So basically, yes, we heard of it, but at this moment, I think a 1,000 million companies using SGX, using SGX Enclave and SDK, and so far there's no public announcement that there's an obvious attack to it. Yes, there's a rumor, but we will see what's going on in the future. But we will close watch on the security of the SGX, and if there anything happen, we will patch as soon as possible.
All right, thank you guys. And I really appreciate that because that was a huge concern from the community. So I just wanted to get it out right away. I really appreciate that. So thank you.
Right. And Stanley, also, obviously, you're the CTO. So I wanted to ask you this directly. Now, you have a unique consensus mechanism called the proof of useful work. Can you tell us exactly why that's unique, why you need to do it, and why you needed to extend beyond other types of mechanisms that are currently existing in the marketplace today?
I mean, proof of work itself is very important to make the consensus. However, it wastes a lot of energy and doing the useless hash calculation work. So with the help of the trusted hardware, we can convert that useless work to useful work and really contribute the computing resource to the commercial usage, to the research, scientific usage. So, I mean, people devote or contribute their desktop to join the desktop or laptop to join the blockchain network, not voluntary for incentive. Why not to reuse that kind of the computing power to do the useful things?
Sure, but can you talk us through why the word useful? Why specifically do you use that, and what does it mean?
I mean, if you use proof of work, it's just doing the hash calculation. However, hash calculation is useless in other kind of thing in the other kind of the world. I mean, just think about the electricity used for proof of work. It's already more than the entire usage of some Europe country. That's huge waste. Why not use that? Why not use that much energy to do the useful work like the protein folding, like the neural network, like the machine learning, or even the deep learning? I mean, there's a lot of company or the university don't have enough computing resource to do the research or to do the startup. We can utilize all the CPU in the blockchain to do that kind of thing. Yeah.
So essentially, Stanley, what you're saying is you're more efficient, more so than useful. It's really just showing that you are, rather than the original iterations of BTC as the Nakamoto protocol, we see it is very energy intensive. You're really saying that you're trying to address those problems.
Yes, you're right.
I have a question about useful work as well. What happens if there's no useful work to be done? With Bitcoin, everyone's competing to mine Bitcoin for that financial reward, but what if there's no one on the network that actually has that useful work that needs to be done?
Oh, I don't worry about that question. I mean, on this planet, there are a lot of the computing requirement. I mean, even at the very beginning, we don't have enough commercial usage for it, or we definitely can, for example, use the scientific work for example, biometrics, for maybe simulation of the physics. I mean, there's a lot of work on this planet that we can use.
Yeah, one thing I would like to add is that, BOINC is going to, cooperate with us, and Professor David Anderson being our advisor from UC Berkeley is really the first person really in the world to start this idea of distributed computing. The idea of distributed computing isn't a particularly new idea. Back in 1998, he started the project in UC Berkeley called SETI at Home project. Now that was a project used to search for extraterrestrial intelligence. Now back then it was only volunteer based. Everyone can contribute their computational power to scientific researches, right? And later on, the SETI at Home project became the BOINC project, which is a general purpose type of project where you have all the scientists, all the project, putting that projects, on the platform and having people across the globe to participate in the network. Now the thing is, a lot of people might not know, the BOINC project already have over 300K users around the globe. But one big issue that they're having, Professor Anderson is telling us they're having, is that there's essentially only volunteer-based. Nobody are getting any incentive. So only people, let's say realistically, from North America as well as Western Europe are on the network. A lot of people across the globe are not able to participate because there's lack of financial incentive. And what we're trying to do is utilize trusted hardware to make the environment, with confidentiality, because one of the reasons only scientific researchers was on it is because, if you want, you really can see what is the job that has been done, on a computer, right? So enterprises would feel okay about it, right? Now with the, SGX, with trusted, hardware, by running the code on Enclave, the confidentiality could be preserved. And further, the incentive could be there so that more people, rather than just, people interested in technology, people who are computer geeks would participate. So we think what Ankr Network trying to do is something, basically largely improve on what's existing. And, further on, going further about what if there's no useful work at the beginning of the network. And we would like to say that because we have a very close relationship with the BOINC project, we can expect, right out of the gate, there will be jobs from the BOINC project previously be run here on the Ankr Network. And previously, people might need to do it voluntarily, but now people will have incentive.
But Ryan, can I just interrupt you for a moment on that? Now, you talk about BOINC as a key partnership for Ankr, but the reality is that with DCC, with distributed cloud computing, there are other competitors out there. They could certainly partner with any of them. So what sets you apart from the others? You have mentioned them in previous interviews. Why are you so good as a trusted hardware in the decentralized cloud computing landscape?
Now, the thing is, so there are certainly a good amount of different distributed computing cloud distributed cloud computing platforms or projects out there, but we think we're the only one taking this rather unique approach.
But tell us why, specifically why.
Why using trusted hardware?
Why are you better? Or why are you unique?
Why we're unique is because the approach we're taking by utilizing trusted hardware to run this. Because if you think about it, in many other sort of smart contract level distributed cloud computing platforms, at the end of the day, you are limited to the ability of smart contract. A lot of things cannot be run on smart contract, to be frank. But in our case, it's different. You are running your work on the CPU, right? It's general purpose. Now, that also can largely reduce the redundancy. For example, without trusted hardware, you might have to have lots of redundancy. You might have to have 5, 10, 100 nodes doing the exact same job. Yes, you might have this 50 doing this job and that 50 doing that job, but there are still big amount of redundancy. But with SGX, you can essentially verify the execution of the code on the enclave. Now that's a big step. we think differentiates us from anyone else.
And also, I want to add some comments. So use trusted hardware to a public P2P network can ensure first the correctness of the program. The second is the privacy of the data. So for example, if you want to introduce a serious commercial use, for example, if there's a pharmaceutical company trying to analyze the data for their patient, you definitely don't want the data to be leaked on the platform or the computer hosting outside the company and somewhere on this outside even the country. So with the trusted hardware, we can provide the data privacy and ensure the correctness of the program. That's very important to a public P2P network.
All right, excellent. Let's move on to the next question. Captain Crypto, you're up to bat.
All right, here we go. I'm just gonna go straight for it. So let's talk about this hack. One of my close friends, he's a hedge fund manager. He got a private message from Chandler saying that he can throw in 300 F for allocations, and if he did that, it would have been really bad. So that's not good, you know. So let me finish. So before, so on behalf of the Telegram group, there's 46,000 people, and just I would like you to answer for on behalf of everybody. What happened there, and how are you guys going to make sure that this doesn't happen again?
Sorry, could you rephrase your question? Because I think you got cut off a little bit.
Okay, so yeah, so my friend got a message from Chandler saying that he was gonna get 300 F allocations, so 300 Ethereum, but it was but you guys got hacked, you guys got compromised, right? And so
here what happened. Basically, Chandler changed his phone number. And yes, it was our mistake that the previously Chandler account that name on Telegram was a scammer account. But it's not like our company's corporate email or corporate anything is compromised. It's up and running. Yes, Chandler's personal LinkedIn account was hacked, and we apologize for that. But it was in many ways not a issue on our end. It was more of a SIM card issue, and that actually happened to many people in the Valley. But we want to say, and we want to utilize this as an opportunity. The company website, the company server, the company email, and all of those things, everything that's corporate, are extremely safe. And we actually do it rather separately. Everything is largely separated from personal accounts, personal, password, personal, everything is different. And we take extra cautious about, what exactly goes into our corporate stuff. Yes, indeed. I want to utilize this opportunity to apologize for people potentially getting a hacker's message from LinkedIn. We actually reacted very soon. Within a couple of hours, Chandler's hacked LinkedIn was shut down, and he was not out there telling people their allocations that they can invest. And we did a thorough research or conversation with everyone who has been contacted by the fake Chandler. And nobody has lost a penny. I think that we're glad, and we definitely will be extra careful. Chandler will be extra careful with his personal account. But once again, it was an AT&T thing. I'm not trying to blame it on AT&T.
But Brian, if I could just interrupt you for a moment. I want to interrupt you and get real about this with regard to hacking. Now, we've heard other influencers actually allege that they've been hacked. We've seen all this sort of narrative before. Now, I want to ask you with regard to what Captain Crypto was talking about with the ETH as well. Because, there are suggestions, and as I understand, it's commonplace in many different VCs and also in different projects to have differentiated SAFs, to have differentiated agreements for different tiers of access. Can we talk about that with Ankr? How have you done different types of access for different VCs or for different investors?
Yeah, absolutely. Here at Ankr, we believe in full transparency, and you can very soon see on our website the full disclosure of all terms that we have given out to all investors. So there is no big price hike from the first investor to the last investor in the private pre-sale. So the cheapest price a fund, a VC that ever got in was our lead investor, Pantera. Now, they did a 6 months lockup. All of their allocation was locked up for 6 months, and their investment valuation was at $33 million US. Now, that was the cheapest deal on the table, right? And DHVC along with NGC, they also were in the tranche 1. Now, tranche 1 was a rather small tranche, only accounts for 5% of the total token, and then the 25% was the second tranche. Now, the 25 second tranche was valued at $44 million if you agreed to a 6 months lockup, and the $55 million if you do not do the lockup. So we give investor options, but obviously for the ones with more strategic values, we ask them to have larger percentage of their allocation to be locked up. So we are making sure they will stay with us and help us to do more global adoption. And on the other hand, in our private pre-sale, there are 150 investors in over 20 countries across the globe. Now, we have a lot of small allocations of 50, 75 unlocked, upfront, because we believe in adoption. We believe in the global adoption. We don't believe having a couple investors to take up the whole, let's say 50 million and easily swing the market. Now, there is the largest allocation from our lead investors in the range of 2,000, in 2,000-ish, less than 3,000. Now, and that was only 1 or 2 investors, and really everyone else have rather small allocation distributed nicely across the globe.
I see. Well, I appreciate your transparency, because we just need more of that on the blockchain. We need people like you to tell us straight to our faces as community members and participants in this industry, whether we're speakers of it or whether we're taking part in even at the exchange level, to tell us exactly how it is right from the beginning.
Yeah, exactly, because some people do have that question as, why you've chosen to give so much of the tokens to the big money firms and leave such a little bit of amount for the general crowd. I mean, that is a question that you do get, especially from a lot of the retail investors as well. So,
yeah. So here is how I think about it, right? So when we think about it, yes, in the ideal world, it should be really, every single bit of the allocation for the general public and for the crowd sale, right? Mm-hmm. So I completely agree with that, and we're trying our very best to essentially kind of mimic that in our pre-sale as well. But you have to know that, and there is sort of a balance. Let's say right now I have 150 investors, which what we already think is a large amount compared to many other projects. But all those 150 investors, I have personal connection with, Chandler have personal connection with, Stanley have personal connection with. Now, all of those guys will be people we are sure of will help us, spread the words, will help us, make the adoption happen. Instead, if you think about it, if we at this moment we have 2,000 investors in our private pre-sale, there's almost no way for us to really get personal with all of those investors and expect them to help us to build a community, help us to promote adoption. And in fact, we really decide the allocation according to country. We have people coming from Azerbaijan, we have people from South Africa, Argentina, Brazil, Peru even. So I think this is what we believe in. We truly believe in the distribution.
So these allocations that you gave out, essentially, they're not just, anybody gets their money, whatever. It's essentially very strategic, and you're trying to build relationships with these investors. It's not, a cash grab, for example, like some others might say. Do you guys mind, because I know we do have, we are running on a time schedule here. I wanted to dive a little bit into just the tech real quick, if you don't mind. I did notice that on your roadmap, so on your website, I know you said you're updating the website, but right now all we have is July 2018 prototype release. Now, I've only seen what I've gotten from Blockchain Brad. He did a video at your headquarters, and that's all we were able to see. But what about the public prototype? Because I'm a huge proponent of MVPs on this channel. So when are we going to get to see that public prototype so that, I can actually have my developer friends and my coder friends have an opportunity to actually look at what's going on behind the scenes?
Yeah.
I think at this moment we have finished the command line prototype somehow, and we would like to expose our UI prototype quickly. and we are working very hard on the UI side, I mean the website, and also we're trying to build a middleware to link the front end to our blockchain. So I would say we probably will release the UI part very soon, and
couple of days, right?
Yeah, a couple of days, and we would like to give the example useful work and tell people how you can develop using our model. It may be not perfect for the for the future, for the production usage, but at least it can help the user or help the people, our audience, get a sense how we would like to make the movement to this approach.
Mm-hmm. I think that'd be very beneficial. Absolutely.
Speaking of technology, we haven't even touched on the native Oracle services yet. Can you just tell us briefly about that?
Yeah. So, when we think about what is an Oracle, Oracle is a fancy word, but really it's a data feed, right? Because all smart contracts are data hungry. They need data to be fed into it, right? Let's say there is a smart contract that requires, information about how much money you have in your bank account, right? But, from that number, bank account to the smart contract on blockchain, that feed is the, Oracle. That's the Oracle service, right? And there are different approach of doing this data feed. And what the approach we take is also utilizing trusted hardware. And for more detail, Stanley can elaborate more on why our Oracle service is differentiated from other Oracle services.
Absolutely, because yes. I would really like to know what's going to stop these oracles from cheating and giving you fake data.
Yep. Okay, so for Oracle service, our unique advantage is we are still using the trusted hardware to make sure the correctness of the correct data can be uploaded to the blockchain. So, for example, I will still use a real example to explain why it's important to use trusted hardware. So, let's say you have a smart contract, and there's one person have $10 in his bank account, and there's another person has a bike. So, if I can verify you have $10, you have a bike, and the transaction can happen, and smart contract can move forward. However, before that can happen, we need somehow to upload this data to the smart contract. So, for example, I need to check this user or really have $10 in this account, and I need to check the ownership of the bike. However, if you don't use the trusted hardware, you still can do that. You can build a Oracle service yourself. You can deploy to some instance, and you can expose it some API call, RPC call. However, using trusted hardware can ensure the code you deploy to the instance or node can correctly run without any modification. So, for example, if I am a hacker, I gain the access to this server somehow, and I go to this server, I change your executable, and I turn off the alerting service, or this kind of thing happen. Then all the thing I do is for every other account, it can successfully upload the data to the blockchain. However, only my account, whatever the number is, I just time it by 10,000 or 100,000. I may just have a couple of bucks, but it turns out to be 20 or 30,000 bucks US dollars on the blockchain. But for regular QA, they probably use the company account to do the testing, so they won't be able to find that. But however, use trusted hardware because you change the binary. Even one bit change in the binary won't pass the digital signature check. So the Intel SGX Enclave won't be able to accept the program to be low into CPU to run. Yes, for sure, the service well done, and it will refuse to serve the functionality if the executable get changed. However, it's much better than causing a $1,000 or million US dollar loss in the blockchain application. And if there's a external monitor or external alerting service, the operation engineer can get that message even in the middle of night, and they can go to the SSH to the server and find, okay, there's an access breach and the code has been modified. They can fix it right away, or at least they can get alert and prevent that happen at the very beginning of the bit.
Excellent. Well, let's go ahead and hop over to the next question. I think Captain's got one up here for us.
Yeah, so I'm here to ask the hard questions, and I'm going to ask them. Here we go. So let's talk about team. Let's do it. All right, so Stanley, I know you got a lot of experience. Ryan and Chandler, you guys are young. Congratulations, first off, for starting something like this. But your work experience. What makes you think that you guys are qualified to handle millions of dollars like this? And what makes you believe that you guys are actually able to outperform everybody else with such experience?
Yeah. Now, when we actually got this question a whole lot, Chen and I were probably one of the youngest founder in this in this industry even. Now, we like to break it up to two parts, right? So Chandler and Stanley were actually the original two people who were initially developing the technology of Ankr Network, right? Now still, Chandler functions as the product manager of the team. He oversees how this will run. Obviously, Stanley as a CTO, they lead the technology development together. Now, our technology development team is extremely experienced. Stanley have a long time in Amazon AWS. He also was the person really spearheaded Alexa ranking. He was one of the very first member of the EC2. And Song Liu, he has close to 20 years of security experience. He worked in Crypto Network as well as Gigamon. Song Liu, our chief architect, also have close to 20 years of experience in Gigamon. And we also have Giacomo, who is PhD out of Texas, and a lot of people in our team is rather experienced. We have at the same time Hanping, he previously worked in IBM, and basically what we're trying to say is that our development is extremely experienced and capable of building the technology we tell people we're building. The technology will be delivered. So that's on the technology side.
Ryan, can I just jump into that? Sorry to jump in. I want to talk to you about the initial investment, and this is relating to this question. Now, my understanding is that both you and Chandler, Ryan, are the key investors, the very first investors in all of that is Ankr. So in that respect, I want to talk about, is it chicken before the egg or vice versa? Because if you have people like Stanley on the team, what I would like to know as someone from the public is it something where you've gone and sought after expertise subsequent to your own interests, or have you genuinely built from the outset a tech-driven team and premise?
Yeah. So we are obviously we're always extremely transparent about this. So me as a COO, I was actually the #1 investor to this project, and back in 2014, when I first met Chandler. Chandler was like the third guy I met when I come to UC Berkeley, and he said back then, Ryan, that was the time he started to learn about blockchain. That was 4 years ago.
That's a great story, by the way, dude. This blockchain thing, man, you got to check it out.
Want to buy some Bitcoin? That was September in 2014, and we essentially bought Bitcoin around $500 a piece. Now I bought 20, Chandler bought 2. So those 22 served as the initial funding of our project, and that's one of the reasons we are proud that we don't have investors have extraordinary better deals than anyone else. The second best deal is and the first 2 investors, we are part of the team, and the outside investor, the lowest price is 32 mil valuation. Now, Chandler and Stanley were actually, ex-boss employee, relationship. Actually, Stanley was Chandler's super manager. So basically, boss's boss. So when Chandler first got this idea, I was Chandler's college roommate. He talked to me, and then he talked to Stanley, and he also talked to his friend in in blockchain Berkeley, his friend in all in the research area of blockchain, where he learned blockchain, learned trusted hardware, from those people, right? And then because Stanley have a long experience in the AWS, in the traditional cloud computing service, when they started to talk about it, they think it makes sense. And me, from a finance perspective, I have a finance background. That's another sort of answer to Captain's question. I think we have a very well-balanced team on the technology development side. We have very strong experience, very long experience. And on the business development end of our technology, I have to be extremely honest about it. Look, it's a new industry. It's new for everyone. We're learning. Other people are learning as well. And both Shannon and I, though we're young, and I think you can check with really anyone who know us, we do have a good track record, I would say. and we know what we're doing. And yes, we might lack a bit of experience, but we think we are brave. We are genuine about what we're building, and we like to tell this about everyone else. We're not hiding to pretend I'm 30. Chandler is not hiding. He's,
to be fair, and Ryan, to be fair, let me just jump in and say that, given that it's such a nascent technology, the reality is that age isn't necessarily an indicator of experience.
Absolutely.
Because even if you're 50, this is so new, it doesn't really mean that much, because you can be 25 and be Vitalik or younger. It really is about how much you understand.
I'm sure people ask Vitalik the same question.
Right. Yeah. I'm not really
You're
sure
so young. How can you create such a thing?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, look at, for example, look at Shingo Levine from Ethos. I mean, or Eric from Blockcat or anything. They're very, very young.
Right.
So yeah, I don't consider age to really be, in this space. I think it's all fair game. It's very new. You guys recently, you actually just brought up Amazon Web Services, which kind of made me think to myself. So we've seen a lot of other competitors in this space, and I'm not going to name any names, but they've taken a very long time to deliver. They deliver weak products. Sometimes they don't deliver.
Name to help you. Definity is an example. Sonam. Let's go there. Let's name these names.
Yeah. All right. Well, to expand upon that, I just wanted to say, how can we be sure that this time it's different? And I have a second question as well. So number one, how can we be sure that this time it's different, right? And then the second thing is, the network effect is really, really important. A product or service is really only as successful as its user base. So how do you plan to onboard new users to your platform, especially those that, let's say are already comfortable or familiar with things like Amazon Web Services?
Yeah, so there are two parts of the question that I want to address those questions separately. So first, question, to be frank, essentially you're alluding that there are a lot of people who are trying to tackle this challenge, but not that much has happened yet. But I actually have a different opinion on this. Not necessarily decentralized computing, but let's say decentralized storage. I think IPFS made great progress. I believe Sidecoin is usable right now. You can literally do the whole decentralized storage in Sidecoin. We actually were talking to people there. I think they have made tremendous progress in terms of development. It's not like they haven't created anything. That's something I actually want to vouch for them. And in terms of in our case, what we're trying to do is I believe our advantage is that our logic is actually simple. Proof of useful work logic isn't hard. I can explain that to you within a minute or two. It's not hard. Now, we believe a overly complex protocol or overly fat protocol, overly complex approach might be problematic, right? Because, when we think about it, throughout the development of history of tech companies, which company that's, extraordinarily complex and still doing extraordinarily well? Now, we believe, no matter it's Google, no matter it's Amazon, no matter it's Facebook, oftentimes you can explain things in a very easy manner. And for us, we believe an elegant setup, an elegant protocol will be easy to update, will be easy for challenges moving forward. And that's what we think our advantage is. And we like to leverage the existing solution, which is trusted hardware that's available. It's almost like you want to light a fire. You either use some extremely artful way to light a fire, use your matches, or just use a lighter. Now, sometimes, very few times, lighter might have some problem, but do you use lighter? You do, right? Now that's how we think about it. And the second part of the question is essentially, how are we going to make sure there are adoption? And I think the adoption will first come from the BOINC user, and that's why we partner with BOINC. That's why Professor David Anderson, we approached David Anderson, and Professor is extremely helpful to us, gave us a lot of input and insights to how he has run BOINC for 20 years. He knows what's going on in BOINC, and he knows the pitfalls and problems distributed computing might have. And he has already have 300K people running on his platform. There are people in the world already understand the idea of distributed computing. And I think the adoption will start from there, sort of from the user end, from the computing power provider end, because those people have already set up a much more complex BOINC server, BOINC environment, right? Now on the useful work supply end, we have already very actively seeking partnerships from various angles. First angle is essentially your technology solution provider, your IBM, your Accenture, your SAPs, your Oracles of the world. I cannot exactly disclose name yet, but we have already.
We don't mind if you do.
We will announce, shortly. We are already, partnership ring with, two venture Fortune 500 company, and we will be one of the cloud computing service provider, along with Microsoft Azure, along with AWS.
That's
now
pretty
that's
impressive.
the first thing. And secondly, is that on the China market, obviously, as you can tell, we have Chinese background. I'm Asian. Those two are Asian. I can speak Chinese. Those two can. Now the thing is, we also have a Chinese business development partner. They are one of the leading companies serving the startups in China. They're in the business of cash management. Their name is called Singularity Capital. They are very good friend of our company. And the idea or the strategy we're going to deploy is sort of the idea of lend and sell. Basically, it's very simple. Let's say today, if I'm already selling, Lark, an ice cream, wouldn't it be easy for me to also sell you a hamburger, right? So rather than, I just write out the door and to reach out to you selling a hamburger, would it make more sense to sell the hamburger through the guy who used to sell you ice cream, right? So that's how we think about it.
Work smart, not hard, right, guys? That's
so long as we were able to trust their oracles.
Right. And Stanley, I wanted to ask you this. Now, Ryan, you mentioned an important point that we don't often hear. You talked about, your connection with a professor, and often we see professors are paid. They're paid to present, and essentially sometimes shill projects. Now, what's different about what you've said is that the person that you're talking about is associated with BOINC, which is an actual entity. So in that respect, are you confident that he has mutual interests far beyond his own, benefit from being in part of Ankr?
Yeah.
Are you confident that he will, right?
Yes, I can full disclosure. Professor Anderson does not have financial interest in the project.
Okay.
And he is.
That's really important that we do know that.
Guys, we have time for one last question. Captain, you want to hop in on this?
Yeah, so last question. I just want to talk about integrity. A lot of big problems that we're seeing is that at the end of the day, as soon as ICO launches, who's remaining is just the co-founders. The team is gone, advisors are gone. So do we have your word that after the ICO launches that your team and your advisors will still be here?
Well, sometimes the money's gone too.
Do something. Can you see me? Sorry.
Yeah.
Give me 1 second. Now this is our office. There are computers here. There are engineers here. Though it's Sunday night, not that many people are around. It's not a project only have funders. There are people actually doing development here, and we're extremely comfortable and wanting to show full transparency of really everything we're doing. And we're here to stay. And as you guys, as Captain has mentioned, I'm young, channel is young. This is our Korea. We're here to stay.
Awesome. Guys, I think you've been giving us some really good answers today and provided some really great transparency. So I really want to thank you for your time, the Ankr team, panelists, ladies and gentlemen of the audience. It is now up to you to decide, is this going to be a whale of a project, or is it going to sink to the bottom like a guppy? Join us back here next time on Token Tank, where we discuss another top and upcoming cryptocurrency project.